Supervisor said, we have had a group that have had the opportunity to look at the temporary standards. In 935-17B, it talks about providing, these standards that cover the care of and also the fencing and housing. And as the group met and as we have looked at what we needed to do to meet this timeline, we have dealt with some minor of the care issues, and then also dealt with the housing and fencing issues, because we felt that if someone was going to be involved in this, they needed to have some guidelines up front as to what that housing needed to look like. And so we'll review this rather than do it line by line. You have all had a chance to look at this. You should have received copies of it back a couple of days ago. And so when we look at the care, in 901-1201, it really deals with the care. And so we've got a definition of animals. We talk about food and water, that's necessary for the maintenance of normal body condition and growth. They need to be kept clean. The dishes need to be kept clean. And then we talk about the enclosure, and the enclosure needs to prevent escape from, escape of these animals. And the enclosure needs then also not to injure those animals. We use cantilever fencing in some of the housing issues, so we have a definition of that. And then as we get to working more along with the permanent rules, we'll do more in the way of behavioral aspects, but we just said that it needs to allow the movement and behavioral needs and enrichment opportunities of these animals at this time. And then for reptiles, that the walls need to be smooth. So those are the general care aspects that are in this rule. Any comment from the advisory board? If none, we'll move on. It seemed like since 935 had listed out the individual families or species of animals that we need to develop these rules for, we have broken most of these rules down into just that general category of family. And so 911-202 deals with bears, and there we have just said what needs to make up that enclosure, such as a gauge of wire, the horizontal rotting, and then how many square feet need to be present for those animals, and then with polar bears, the need for a pool. Comment on the section on bears. As in the past, my take has been, with no comment, that we have some consensus that we're okay. The next family is the Hyenidae. It talks about hyenas in the bill. And so again, we're back to gauge of wire. We're talking about the square footage that is needed, and then either an elevated platform or some bedding material for resting that accommodates all of the present. Comments? Thank you. 901-12-04 deals with the family of canids. Excluded out of that are gray wolf fibers, includes the African wild dog, and again, chain link size, area for the enclosure. If it's so high, it needs to be covered or cantilevered, and then again with the platform and or resting or bedding for resting to accommodate all animals. Comment? Hearing none. Looking at 05, talking about the family felidae. We've got a variety of different animals in that, different sizes. And so, again, we talked about outdoor enclosures, chain link, indoor enclosures, what that needs to be, and then have divided into large and small felids, and there are some similarities between those two in the way of what that enclosure needs to be, chain link size, but the primary difference is, again, the square foot areas, the square foot area that is required by each. And then such things as, like in C4, jaguars, leopards, and pumas should not be kept in uncovered enclosures. Or in 5, the difference for lions and tigers. Again, comment? Mike.
Dr. Glauer, could you touch upon some of the general sources of standards that were reviewed upon which these draft things have been based?
Sorry about
Some
that.
background on
Yeah. We looked at a variety of standards, and I think we had like 14 of them, Mike, that we looked at. Certainly we looked at AZA standards, ZAA standards. There's things in the USDA Animal Welfare Act. There are several states that had some rules out there that we looked at. Those are some of the basic ones. We're particularly looking at AZA and ZAA standards. There is also a USZA. We used a little bit of that, but fell back more to the ZAA standards as we were looking for some guidelines. Comments from any of those that were on that committee? Dr. Tony?
No, and I think, one of the things we did a few months ago was got the 7 zoos in Ohio together. We thought that was probably the expert group to start with, at least, to get some of these down. So they brought a lot of different standards from a lot of different things that they use at the zoos. And so that committee brought a lot of those things to us. And then we fell back on this course on USDA's federal guidelines as well, as far as minimum standards, because we'll have to meet USDA minimum standards, first and foremost.
Mike, remember fails, you go back to the book here. So the Feline Conservation Federation, their basic wild exotic feline husbandry, this restricted species technical advisory committee, they have put together some minutes that were very good, that were helpful. AZA, I mentioned, USDA, ZAA, the Animal Welfare Act, Tennessee has some rules. Texas, Colorado, the Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries. I didn't forget that was a very important one. Then there are some bear and restricted species laws and regulations that are out there. So those are some of the sources that I used in order to put this together. And then, as Dr. Forshee mentioned, this technical advisory committee was really good. Oh, I forgot that one. What is that? ALAC, the Association of Accredited Laboratory Animal Care, also used that. I have my classmate to keep me on track here. So, any comments? Now back to this is 05 on the family felidae. Thanks for the question, too, Mike. Looking in 06, we combined, some of the large animals in this, the hippopotamus, the elephant, the rhinoceros, and then the bovidae that's there. They only mention the Cape buffalo in the law, and so that's what we have. And again, it's the same kind of a format. What needs to make up that structure? Some requirements that are there to, again, we're wanting to prevent escape, and so that's what we're trying to do. There's some difference in the size of the containment for a hippo and then a pygmy hippo, or a Nile hippo and a pygmy hippo. With elephants, again, the size of the enclosure, that type of thing. Rhinoceros, and then the Cape buffalo. And again, looking at square footage on containment and making sure that we are escape proof. I didn't mean to go over that quickly, but any comment on that one? The next one is 07 that deals with the Komodo dragon. And again, very simple, straightforward. Again, we covered the care in 01, and here we're dealing with caging and fencing. Again, the chain link, how large that enclosure needs to be. Comment? Then the order Crocodilia that covers the alligators, the crocodiles, the caimans, and the Gabellidae. And again, looking at the size of chain link and the size of the containment for those. And then with these, dealing with the additional aspect of water space for these animals. Comment? And then the last is the non-human primates that are included in the bill, and this doesn't deal with those that just need to be registered, but this deals with those that are part of the DWA, the Dangerous Wild Animal. And again, looking at the families, then subfamilies as the division for this particular animal goes, and again, dealing with chain link. And again, with the square footage requirement, as we looked at the Guions and some of the smaller ones, and then Bonos, and then finally the gorilla. Comment or question on those? If not, Mr. Chairman, that's a quick review of the standards that we put together, that meet 935-17B.